Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Ryan Little.
Yoga.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Yo, we here, another episode. We doing and we digging it in. I'm glad to talk to you guys. What is the deal? Hope everything is good on your side, and you made it another week and here talking with me, or listen to me rather, and talking about various things. Oh man, it is crazy what has been going on since I last spoke to you guys. It's absolutely out of this world. Oh man, some things I want to talk about, some things I don't want to talk about, but no, I have to with you guys. We're gonna touch on some cool things, not cool things, some touchy subjects. And I know, like a lot of people would be like, yo, I would never talk about that. But you know what? I don't fray away, or I'm not scared of talking about specific subjects. I mean, what better way for us to understand each other more, but to actually talk about it, and not in a trolling way where it's all about clicks and everything like that. But I actually having an honest, open, well, in this situation, one way, but an honest dialogue that I'm hoping that this, what I'm going to say, is going to spark every one of you guys out there to have your own conversations with your family and friends, and really have a discussion amongst each other. And like I said, you see a lot of that Twitter stuff that's going on, some of it from bots, some of it from people that are trying to get clicks in a moment. And because that just confuses the conversation. And it doesn't do anyone any good if we worry about more on trying to get an attention and how crazy and wacky that person sounds in the moment, and not really just getting into the nitty gritty and talking to each other. So yeah, that's not what I'm about. And I'm here to talk. So I guess I could call myself the Black Joe Rogan. Because and I say that because there's nobody else is really, you do have Charlemagne the God, that's cool, but he's doing it more from a radio standpoint, and he does have a podcast. He does it with his mans, the dude, the comedian dude, but nobody's really coming from the ground up, coming from the podcast universe, that really can display and talk about various topics that could be interesting. So now everything is going to be dope and pull you guys in, but I'm a person that's going to be about the topic of the moment, whether it's something that's a social subject, a cultural thing, a world thing, a science thing, big thing that I'm a science person, technology person, talking about business and whatever the latest things. Really having to open a dialogue, and I'm hoping that at some point down the line I can have some really dope guests on the show, people that are experts, not those that just want to talk and gab and take your local rapper, your rapper that was in the moment, was the hotness in the moment at one time 25 years ago. And not to disrespect them, but they do mean well, and they want to talk about things that is not the how should I say, is not the topic that is for the main crowd. I wouldn't say the main crowd, but more of the popular crowd, or more of a wide-ranging amount of people, instead of certain individuals or groups or whatever like that. So, my thing is about having those discussions and bringing those people on, know what they're talking about, Miles Eric Dyson or whoever, and really break it down when it comes to science or race or anything. That's why I call myself the Black Joe Rogan, because I watch some Joe Rogan shows, and there's some things that I'm like, and there are other things that I'm like, oh, that's really dope when it comes to science, when it comes to politics, when it comes to things that are going. I'm like, how come there's not like a black version of that? Like I said, you do have Charlemagne, but again, he's not exactly like from the podcast universe. So that's the space that I want to be in and talk to, my black audience and talk to, white audience or any audience around the world, the global village. But of course, there's going to be a lot of issues that I'm going to discuss that deals with black folk, because I'm a black man, of course, a person of African descent that lives in these United States of America. So let's go ahead and go in and get the show rocking and rolling. Yes, I am your host, let me start it over. My bad. I'm your host, Nova Phoenix, on GCOM Radio, on iHeartRadio. And we are going to talk about the first topic is Jonathan Majors, man. Johnny. Look, let me tell you, I spoke about it on the last show, and we're going to wait for information to come out. We're not going to be judge, jury, and executioner and really lay down on my man, chop his head off and watch it roll to the world in public. But, it did not help that his lawyer said, yeah, we got some information that's going to recant all that stuff. She's going to recant it, and it's going to really prove him he's innocent. I'm not saying that you caught Jonathan Majors red-handed as far as domestic abuse, but the text that the lawyer released, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. And I'm sure at this point in time, you guys probably read the text yourselves. It looks real funny, real suspect coming from someone that's trying to save their significant other, knowing that their significant other may have a history, possibly have a history of domestic abuse, and it paints Jonathan Majors that way. Man, if I know he was probably like in the moment, he was upset. He was like, how am I going to solve this? He was scared and jumpy at the moment, and he went with his lawyer. But I wouldn't like, nah, don't release that. Just stick to your word. You said it was video footage. Who knows? They didn't release video footage. Maybe the video footage didn't look good. And to be fair, sometimes it could be totally innocent, and then something happens that can be perceived as being violent, and it may not be a good look. And I'm sure that was the same way they thought with this text. Oh, she recanted her story, and we got video footage, we got text. Look, see the text, and it doesn't quite do that. Yo, man, I tell you, boy, Jonathan, I'm not saying anything right now because there's nothing to say. But whatever it is, straighten it out. If it's a real situation, straighten it out. If it's not a real situation and is being blown out of proportion in the public eye, straighten that out too. Because you just got on the scene, bro. You literally, you been on the scene for about 5 minutes. You was building up, and you had some great projects that were coming out, and now you got the Kang thing with you got the whole Marvel situation, and you fucking it up. Because I take it as you're not respecting the moment that you are in. When a person recognizes and respects the gift that they have been given, that very few people have an opportunity to get, you gotta be smart. And you know who's a smart actor? Keanu Reeves. That dude is humble. Love Keanu, man. That dude is humble, down to earth. He, there was video footage when he was in New York, and he gave a seat, and he was trying to be totally normal, taking pictures with fans and not really touching them. Like, he ain't trying to get mixed up in nothing. Straight up, my man. I mean, I would love to have a chop it up with Keanu and just have a really dope conversation, man. And he knows how to do it. And and that takes years. That I'm sure that there's some things that he got into that was pre-Me Too, that was pre-social media and pre what do you call it, internet and goofiness that be happening. And I'm sure there's probably some things that he's like, man, I'm glad I grew that, and then before this thing really took off. So, but still, man, that take years of kind of honing that skill and knowing what to do and what not to do in situations. So, I'm going to say right now, shout out to Jonathan Majors, man. Hopefully this is a minor blip and this doesn't become bigger than it should be. And keep your nose to the ground, keep your nose clean. And let's see what happens. I don't know what Kevin Feige thinking. You know, Kevin Feige is like, oh my God. And especially with the whole situation with Bob Iger trying to clean up shop at Marvel and all this. This is not the right time, Jonathan, to be fucking this up. Not the right time. Yeah, man. And speaking of Disney Plus, man, it turns out Disney Plus is not doing well. Disney Plus, they're saying that movie streaming is not as lucrative as they thought it would be, and that they're trying to reevaluate how they're really going to make money in their future projects. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. You know, because look, I always thought about it like this, you know, whenever they do it, even with Netflix, I'm like, how are they making money? Because they're making money through subscriptions, right? And now the subscriptions I have Netflix, I think it's about like $20 a month. Well, that's a lot of people. They're making a lot of money. But at the same time, they are spending a whole lot of money producing these movies. It gets expensive, especially if it requires a lot of CGI. If you got to go, if the sets are in other countries and you have to travel, and then of course the talent is going to bring eyes to Netflix and have people tune in and everything like that. So you got to pay the talent right, like Henry Cavill. But you know, there's but so much money that you are going to make from subscriptions, even with Netflix being one of the top major movie streaming platforms. So of course with Disney Plus, you know, they've been outpacing. I think they're on level with Netflix, or they blew past Netflix, but they are. Disney Plus is the top, and they're saying, wait, this is not making a whole lot of money. It'll be a different story if Disney Plus was like, and I know, I'm just saying, if Disney Plus charged people, right, for the subscription, but for the bigger movies, they charged a second. I know not a lot of people don't like that. It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well with the public. Then I could say with Disney Plus could be making some money. So say you do like an Avatar Way of the Water, right? You release it not in the movie theaters, but you release it on Disney Plus, right? And then you're going to charge people like $15 because this is a big project. It can be seen in the theaters, but you can also see it at home. Now, if they do movies now, it may not be as big of a production with other movies, but if you have something as big as that, maybe you could charge people on Disney Plus. That's another revenue stream on top of the subscriptions, because that's the only way I see them making some sort of money other than subscriptions, because at some point you reach a certain level where you're not going to get any more subscribers. You just topped out. You know what I mean? Of course, you could probably there comes a space where you can make another 1 million subscribers, or you can lose a whole bunch of subscribers because people are just thinking like, the economy is not doing so well. I don't see any new Disney properties that are coming up that it justifies me spending this on a monthly basis. So I think there's that moment in time when it comes to these movie streaming sites where you could gain 1 million based on the projects that are coming, or you could lose a whole lot because people just say, yeah, I'm just spending a whole lot. And plus there's a lot of competition out there. There's a whole lot of competition out there. So people are making moves where they want to cut their bill with these apps. Or saying, I got stars, who cares about Disney Plus? You know what I mean? So it's a real thing. As far as Disney Plus goes, I love The Mandalorian. They got a lot. I love The Mandalorian. It's off the chain. Some people may dislike it, the hardcore critics, especially the hardcore Star Wars critics. But to me, Mandalorian is one of the top properties on Disney Plus. There's a lot of other work that's coming. Of course, the big thing is Marvel. Marvel's been taking hits, as everybody knows, talking about what Kevin Feige is doing, what Bob Iger is feeling in the moment. No doubt, Kevin Feige and Marvel can course correct. They are not suffering. They're not haunted like DC. Kevin Feige has the right head on his shoulders where he can course correct and say, hey, man, that did not do well. We kind of, fell off the rails here. We got to pull back and concentrate on what's important. And that's the content. That's the story. That's how I feel. with Disney Plus. I mean, of course, when they say it was not lucrative, I was like, of course, but so many people. So yeah, man. The other thing is LSU, man. The whole thing with LSU versus Iowa, it was a big thing. Of course, it was coming, and as everybody knows, I really don't get into sports as much as I used to back in the day because my life is just so busy. I can't. I of course, everybody knows I'm a working man. Of course, how do I pay for cars and all that stuff? You know, working on the business and getting that thing, doing this podcast, and then of course there's leisure time and family, all that. So it's hard to really do a whole lot of things. But so much time that I got, and then you got to sleep. You got to find time for yourself, just relax. And then I go to the gym. So it's all these things. Sometimes the schedule works, sometimes it don't, and you do the best you can. But I don't watch as much. My leisure time is movies. I'm a movie person, so I always pick movies over sports. I'm not to say I don't watch sports when I would like to, when I can, but it is what it is. I'd rather, to be honest, I'd rather pick a movie and watch a big budget movie or something or other, and or a small quirky independent film. Hey, there's one movie I want to see. Barbie, I want to see that. That's gonna be crazy. That looks so quirky, and you don't know where that story is gonna go. It's in the Barbie world. And I actually said on Twitter, man, for all my gangster G's, I'm still real. I'm still hard. It's a test. It's really a test. It's a hazing test to see how much man I could be after I come out the movie seeing all that pink. So don't get it twisted. I want to see Barbie. I want to see. It looks interesting. It looks crazy, man. It looks funny. So yeah. But anyway, back to this LSU thing. So that was the big deal between Caitlin Clark, and Angel Reese, of course, given the "you can't see me" face. And everybody was in an uproar about it, man. Everybody's on. Let me tell you something. I knew it was something because every other tweet on my timeline was about that whole LSU Iowa thing, and Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and everybody from Black Twitter was getting out, letting off volleys. I was like, hold on, let me look into this. And of course, I'm not surprised. A lot of times, Black folk and the source of all things in this country is Black folk and Black culture, right? So, of course, everybody knows that "You Can't See Me," everybody that John Cena made famous, but of course, it's not from John Cena. It's from my man from G Unit. It's Tony Yayo. Yeah, thank you. Tony Yayo, and the "You Can't See Me" thing, and Caitlin was doing that on the court, and then Angel Reese, she was doing that, and people was saying, oh, she's just being competitive with Caitlin, and then they was calling the other girl Angel, they were calling her ghetto, or that's not proper, and people was getting on her. But rightfully so, Black Twitter pulled out the shield and sword and went at the dragon of white supremacy. It was great. It was fantastic. I was loving it. I mean, I was hearing everybody get on this. I'm like, what? Okay. Everybody was from Black Twitter. Everybody famous that's got the podcast, that's got a show on the sports channels, they have celebrity. Everybody was getting in. They was getting on these cats. And I forgot to do Dave Portnoy. He's he runs Barstool Sports, and that's where Gilly the Kid and his cousin. Oh man, I can't remember his cousin name. My bad. And I love both of them, and they got $1 million worth of game. And Dave Portnoy said some crazy stuff, talking about she was she was, what did he say? He said some craziness like she's a piece of shit. I'm like, huh? She's 20. So what are you talking about? So Black Twitter was aflame, and not just Black Twitter, but everybody was talking. And showing up, people shut the fuck up. And rightfully so, man. Defend black women, defend black young women. But it was the game, man. I'm like, I can't believe, and I felt, knowing me and the way I talk about race, I'm like, damn, here we are. We can't even talk about a win. That, of course, from the people within those circles with college sports. It was a competitive win, and instead of talking about the game and the teams, now we're talking about a situation where the people that surrounds the game, the tournament, made it a race issue. Of course, sourcing it right back to white folks and how the difference in treatment when it comes to what white players do, what white folks do versus what black folks do. And Black Twitter came out, and that's what's up, man. That's what's up. Jill Biden, she actually invited Iowa out, and they was like, yeah, I want LSU to come to the White House, and I want Iowa to come to the White House. And again, Black Twitter was like, oh, hell to the no. And even Reese is like, if Iowa comes to the White House, I am not coming. And I said, what's up? Yo, you can't get no participation trophy. They lost. Even Caitlyn was like, yo, you know what? They won fair and square. They were a tough team. Even Caitlyn understands, the nature of the game. What Jill Biden is like, yeah, let's invite, hell no. And I agree with Angel Reese 100%, 125%. Hell, I am not coming to the White House if you have Iowa come. And I'm sure Caitlyn understands that same situation. That's not how it go down. You lose, you stay home. If you win, you get the honor of going to the White House. And then you getting the pats on the back and all that, the photo ops and blah 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 blah. Hell nah, man. What we talking about? So again, that's that good old, that's how one of them white folks be doing. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. Okay, there was a story where I read on Twitter when they were in reference to that situation. They were talking about, I forgot what field it was in, but the black person was, of course, degreed up and accomplished, and they got the role over the white counterpart. The white person got upset and to the point of crying or very visually upset. And the superior within that circle, within that field, gave the white person a job in that same, that circle. And that black person that got the job that white person had to report to the white counterpart on the position that was given within that circle, with whatever that industry was. And I'm like, wait a second, what? But that's what black people got to deal with, man. We got to deal with in the workforce where you're twice as good and they don't respect you or recognize you for that. And then your white counterpart be half as good as your ass, not degreed up, damn nowhere close to what you doing, but somehow slides up. And you got to answer to them, or they work less with the money they're making, man. That is a classic situation. You could talk to any black person anywhere in the United States of America. Everybody has a story similar to that. Everybody has a story. And Iowa, and so hopefully someone speaks to Caitlyn, and Caitlyn says, you know what? Nah, I appreciate it. Miss Biden, Miss President Biden, how are you, First Lady? That's okay, but we're gonna sit this one out. That would be very, very. I would hold her in high regard, this young lady Caitlyn, and no shitting on Caitlyn, man. She did a terrific job. She did her thing on the court. She even recognized that she got the face, the hand in the face. This is nothing against Caitlyn at all. I think she's a terrific young lady. This is more of a system of people that don't recognize their own bias in this country and how they can treat people different according to their color. That's what I'm getting at. The people surrounding this game, the media people, the celebrities, the white folks that I'm talking about. And yeah, man, that was crazy. So I don't know if this could be a learning lesson, because this is like the 1/10th thing, the 1/10th scenario where we're dealing with unfair treatment in the public eye. And the only way you deal with that, if it's white folks got to consciously deal with their bias and recognize how they can be unfair in the treatment or how they view or perceive other people when it comes to color. And that's a white folks problem. Sometimes that could pull us in and could be our problem, but that's something that white folks got to work out. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. So moving on, losing weight thing. I was looking at this thing on losing weight, and I remember over the years, there's so many different, how should I put it? There's so many different hustles, for lack of a better word, that you can see on television, on radio, on this diet, that diet, and you could lose 100 pounds, you could lose this, and this is what you need to do. You need to cut out the carb. You need It's really not that hard losing weight. There's a small percentage of people that do have issues that need a little bit more attention and care, and they need to see a doctor, they need to see a nutritionist, and sometimes it's just not about food. Sometimes it's psychological. They need mental health support to get through their issues, and once they can deal with that, then they can handle their physical. But more often than anything, a person can lose weight if they just if they change a few things. You don't have to get on some super different diet. And there was one video that I always see, this guy that promotes himself. He's in great shape, white dude in this case, model type, handsome fellow. And he talks about, you could lose weight, you could do this, blah, 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 blah. Here it is. People are falling for these commercials again. That's on social media now. And people think, well, and what people do, you get the model type individual, man or woman, and they're promoting this elixir or this drink or something or other. And then people, of course, see them and like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And it's a great marketing scheme. But really, it's really not that hard. You don't have to get on any super different diet regimens. All you have to do is simple things. 2 things. You got to be active, and you got to cut down on the portions. That's all. Of course, there are the extreme things that you can't eat. You can't dog down a whole 2 boxes of Oreos. That's not good. I knew someone, I'm not going to say who it is. I heard of someone eating a whole pack of bacon in one sitting. I'm like, God, say what? A whole pack of bacon. You can't do that, of course. All right. So there are certain adjustments that you need to make in your diet. Of course, you're going to cut down on the portion size, and you're going to, and I say this is and it works for me, and everybody's different. Carbs. You got to cut out the carbs. Carbs is a big thing in Spanish culture, right? It's big on rice. They eat rice every day. And this brother that I knew was Puerto Rican, and he had doing weight loss, and his doctor was like, hey man, you got to lose weight. You just, and he cut out rice and beans. He cut that out. My man lost weight. It's the carbs, man. Carbs is great. Carbohydrates is fuel for the body. All right. Your body needs carbohydrates to fill up on so you can move throughout the day. The problem with carbohydrates, if you eat too much carbs, and I say carbs, that means rice, that means pasta, that means breads. If you eat anything in those, of course, let's stick with those 3 in excess, and you sit around, you're going to gain weight. You're going to gain weight. So you have to cut those carbs out, and you have to minimize it. I remember when I was there. I remember when I was in my 20s. And, when you're in your 20s, you poor, you paying rent, you doing all those things. What's a go-to meal that you can get filled off of and you ain't got to spend a lot? Pasta. Pasta. I was eating pasta every day. And I gained weight, and people was like, damn, no, what happened? I'm like, I wasn't huge, but when you gain 40, 50 pounds, it's a difference. I'm like, damn, you know what I did? I cut out the pasta, man. I deaded the pasta, and I was active, and I'm in my life, I've always been up and down. I've been gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, lost weight, gained weight. And as I said before, I've always been active, done martial arts and things like that, boxer. So, I've been leaned down, and, of course you stop. Nothing is 100%. Sometimes you hit a great streak, 3 or 4 years, then things happen and you stop, and then you gain weight, whatever. So anyway, Yeah, I cut out the pasta, lost the weight, went to the gym. Same thing now. COVID happened. You sitting around, you eating junk, and then gain weight. And I was like, I got to change things around. Spoke to my doctor. My doctor was like, you got to lose weight. I was like, no problem. I just cut out the carbs and I drank water. That's another big thing. Drink water, drink water, drink water, drink water. I knew of another individual that he lost 40 pounds, 30 pounds. I said, what you do? He's like, man, I just cut out the soda, man. I cut out the sugary drinks, even the juice. He cut out the juice. And he said, I just drink water. And he lost 30, 40 pounds just from drinking water alone. That goes to show you how much sugar is in the food, is in the drinks that we consume. The sugar is your number one enemy. Number one, sugar is your number one enemy. When you're young, it's not a problem. You can metabolize that sugar, right? But eventually, when you start creeping up in age or you're very sedentary and you consume a lot of sugar, it is your number one enemy. That's like carbs is I could say carbs is the henchman, like the top right-hand man henchman, and sugar is the big boss. You got to go through those two big dudes, and then you can win in the battle, right? In the last board. And activity, man, you got to stay active. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to act like you're going to do the Olympics, but you need to go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week. You don't have to spend 4 hours in the gym. You could just go to the gym and do cardio, 20 minutes of cardio, walking or running, swimming, any activity for that matter. Biking, running, whatever that you feel, racquetball, but doing it on a consistent basis. Now, you may be like, yo, Nova, why are you talking to me about weight? I'm talking to you about nutrition and about weight because because you see a lot of that, as I said, those ads that when you tune into YouTube and you see those commercials when you're watching Hulu or anything like that. And as a regular person, I want to talk to regular people out there, and I want to let you know it doesn't have to be super complicated. You don't have to take any special drinks. You don't have to be in the gym 4 or 5 hours a day and get a trainer and all those things. All you have to do is shift your diet and change your behavior. And it's a lifestyle change. I so far have lost 25 pounds. Fell off a bit. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be real. Fell off a bit. But I'm on my way to getting back. I'm like 265 now. I'll be happy at 245. I used to do tons. I used to be in the gym like 3 hours a day, 6 days a week back in the day when I was in my 20s. I don't do that now. I'm not trying to compete. I'm not trying to get in the ring. I'm not trying to be in the Olympics, the Golden Gloves, nothing like that. All I'm doing right now, I'm doing what's best for me for my schedule. You can do it too. You can do it too. You can still have donuts. You can still have pizza, but you cannot do it every day. You can't do it every other day. You're going to have good days. All right, look, I can have pizza on this. And if you're going to have pizza, you can't have 6 slices. Be good with 2. Be fine. And make sure you head to the gym 20 minutes. I'm telling you, it makes a whole bit of difference. And slowly but surely, you will start to see a change. I remember when I was trying to get back into shape, and I went back in the gym hardcore. And at the time, it took me 3 months to lose 50 pounds. You think, I was beasting in the gym. Like I said, I was in the gym 3 hours a day for 6 days, and I was literally melting off the weight. And at the time, all I was eating was fish and greens. That's all. I was salmon and greens, salmon and greens. I probably had like a 1 cookie, a 2 cookie there, but I was on a serious regimen. The weight melted away, and I put on the what do you call it? The suit, the plastic suit. Let me tell you, man, sweating my ass off. I was like half a bucket of sweat in that plastic suit. And let me tell you, it melted away. Now it's different. My, priorities are shifting. I'm a pop. I'm a family man. I got all these other things. So I've lost the weight, but I got 25 more to go, and I'll be happy if I hover around 235, 240. No big deal. And I'll get there as long as I stay on on discipline. As long as I stay disciplined, you got to get to the gym. That's why I'm talking to you guys I'm like, yo, and I've seen this guy so many times on YouTube, and I'm like, here's somebody selling something else. No, you don't need it. Just cut out all the sugary stuff. Be active. Cut out the carbs. You can have rice if you want to on Saturdays, on Sunday, whatever, however you want to do it. But cut out the carbs and the sugar. Let's take it one step at a time. Cut out half and then cut out 75. Cut out at least up to 80% of carbs and sugar out of your diet. Drink water for the day, and then if you have orange juice or grape juice or something in your fridge, if you want to have a glass, that's fine. But drink water, drink water, drink water, drink water. And in those days, don't drink no juice. Skip a day and just drink water. I'm telling you, it makes a big difference. So hopefully that helps you out. And there's nothing wrong with healthy eating. Have a salad. You know what I mean? Have a salad, and when you go to the restaurant, go to a vegan restaurant. That's where vegan restaurants come in great, man. You could go to a vegan restaurant and have something healthy, and instead of going to, I don't know, what's the place, IHOP, and eating stacks and stacks of pancakes. I remember my boy who lived in Staten Island. We didn't see he found a place over there. And me and the boys is chilling, and he was like, "Yo, what up, my man? Let me come and see you. We come and check you on the island, Staten Island." You know what I mean? We went to see him, and we didn't see him in months. And when we saw him, he was like, "Yo, son, what's going on? Yo, you gained mad weight." And it must have been like 50, 60 pounds. He's like, yeah. IHOP was down the block. He used to walk down the street for about 5-10 minutes, and they knew this dude on first name basis. That's how many times he was going to IHOP. It was crazy. I was like, yo, son, they know you on first name basis. What, you going back there and you help the secondhand cook? You flip your own pancakes? Yo, this dude was frequenting that joint. But when we was cracking on him, he was like, yeah, I, and he lost weight. He chilled out. He stopped going to IHOP, and that's how easy it is, man. It's just about food regulation, and nothing hurts about just being knowledgeable of the food that we consume and eat. And I heard some stuff about chips. Hey man, I have Doritos, and then all of a sudden there's this one. I forgot the name of the account I follow on IG. They was like, "This is why chips is bad." I'm like, God damn. When you can't help. When you in the know, you got to do something about it. You got to change. I'm like, shit, man. That means I can't have it. Good. So yeah, this wanted to shout that out. What I got next on this list? Yeah, man. Fame, man. Fame is wild. Fame is a drug, man. I don't know how people do it sometimes. Again, it's some things when I'm looking online and I'm seeing these individuals. Fame is not what it used to be. I remember when it was mysterious. It was magical. It was something that a few people had an opportunity to surround themselves in, and when you bumped into them, it was like you were, I mean, keep it real, that's fame was like almost seeing an angel. That's what it was, because you hardly saw the celebrities that you liked, and when you saw them, it was a magical moment. Now it's like there's no magic in fame anymore. Literally anybody can be famous. You don't have to know how to act. You don't have to know how to sing. You don't have to have any particular talents. All you got to do is put a camera in your face. And then after a while, people start watching you to like what you say. They really connect with how you move and what you do. And you could become famous right then and there. And let me tell you, man, it's a big problem. It's a big problem because people are getting famous off the most ridiculous things. It's kind of like that Hollywood magic is gone, and I'm good. It's good in some ways, but where we at currently, it's gone down a path where anybody can sell you anything as long as you connect with them in some sort of way if you watch them long enough. And it's like, it's dumb. But I can say this in this age of social media and the internet, people have become experts. They can tell exactly what video is fake. I shit you not. You could watch something back in the day where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Nowadays, you could just go on Instagram, or you go on TikTok, or you go on Facebook, whatever, and a video goes viral. You could look at the comments, and half the people, 75% of the people saying, man, that shit is fake. And then you look at it again, and it's like, oh shit, that is fake. Why did that happen in that moment? That don't make sense. That's a pure coincidence. And people getting famous off the crazy things. And I forgot what celebrity she was talking about. I just so happened to catch her on IG. She's an R&B singer. They gave her a lot of flack because she supported Trump, and that was the worst move she could do. It was a hard hole to climb out of. I forgot her name, man. And she was a great singer, but she's still doing her thing, and she was saying the same thing, man. Fame is different. But what you can do now with Fame is create spaces and rooms and communities where people really connect with you, and you can turn that into healing. You can turn that into re-engaging people and creating communities that of folks that are not necessarily right next to you or across the hall from you or across the street, but you could create a community where it's something that's on a global scale. And wherever you go, the people that you have actually connected with idealistically, people that you have connected with ideologically, and you can bump into them at any place, and in California and in Washington State and Florida, and you can create a space where it can be about healing and being specific in what you want to share in the service that you want to provide to people. I think that is the upside of what Fame can be. What celebrity to a certain degree can be. I know of a woman on IG. She was a typical IG person, and she turned her profile from what you typically see with IG models, whatever you see when you scroll, and you see them in the when you go IG and you click on the search and you see all the tiles. You see the same people over and over again. She changed it around. She stopped being an IG model, and she turned her following into helping them figure their life out through tarot reading. I believe in tarot reading. I think people are really gifted in that field. There are a lot of charlatans, but I think at the same time, it's worthwhile. And she turned it around. She who knew that she did this for years? She was a tarot reader, and now she turned it around, and now she's making a different life for herself, and that's helping others. Amazing stuff. And I think that's what it can be. Fame can be toxic. You can turn into a grifter, and you can extract money from people. But the thing is, it's a short-lived experience. But when people really want to dig in and find their passion, and they have a following of 150, 25,000 people, 30,000 people, 50,000 people, 500,000 people, you can actually service your community that you've built over the years and really connect with them in ways that we couldn't do 15, 20 years ago, before the coming of social media. So yeah, man, I've lived long enough where I can see how the idea of fame and celebrity it has changed and evolved in a lot of ways that are bad, but in a lot of ways that are good too. So let's see what happens. Oh, all right. So let's go. Trump now. Trump is a son of a bitch, man. So my man's caught. He went down. Marjorie Taylor Greene, as always, she was stunting and was trying to make a situation out of nothing. And she came out of New York and did not go well. She was trying to support Trump and say all those things on the big horn, and she was there about 5 minutes spilling whatever trash she was spilling, and then New York came out in the finest New York fashion and was shouting and blowing whistles, and she could not get a word in edgewise, and even the words that she was getting through, it was just hitting air. It was hitting air molecules and going into the ether, and nobody was listening, and she got whisked away by her team into a car to head right back down to Georgia. Yeah, it wasn't a good look at Trump. He got hit with, I think, 30 plus accounts of this whole thing that's rooted with Stormy Daniels when you're trying to pay her off. Personally, look, this is what I think. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I think it's good theater at the very least. It's going to be fun. I'm going to get a lot of joy out of it. I was giggling on the train all the way home, and I was like, wow, that's something else. But I don't think, I mean, of all the things that he has done over the years, the 50 years of criminality, as him being the CEO of Trump, the Trump brand, and everybody from New York understands where I'm coming from or what he was doing and the shiesty shit he was doing over the years. You know, it's satisfying that this has finally come right back to him like a boomerang, and he's sent down. And as I said, I was on a show let's see what happens if it comes on. I was actually talking with Teslin Figaro. Everybody knows Teslin Figaro. She has Straight Shot No Chaser is her podcast. And I think I might get on there. I am not so sure, but we shall see. And I've actually mentioned, she was having like a live call thing. And I actually mentioned that she pretty much asked, what is this going to come with as far as the arraignment? I don't think anything is going to come from it. I really don't think anything is going to come from it. I think he's going to figure out a way how to slip through this, and he's going to come out the other end Donald Trump as always. And I don't know, like I said, I think he's got a contract with the devil. However he's doing this in the fine print when he signed his name in blood, but somehow he keeps on getting out of these situations. Now, what I can say, what I do like, or what I hope will happen is when he does slip through this once again, the people that truly believe in what America has been teaching them since young, since George Washington and the Civil War and the Declaration of Independence and standing up to the national anthem, the people that truly believed in what America is, it's going to be a rude awakening. And that's not something, and I've always said this on the show before, if Trump figures out a way how to get out of this, I think it's going to do a massive blow to the belief system of what America's been teaching its people all these decades since its inception. And yeah, of course, we can also talk about the transatlantic slave trade and, Jim Crow and all these things that has happened to black people. But I'm thinking momentarily outside of that, people really believed, and people believed that their government wouldn't do wrong. Of course, there'll probably be, there was exceptions to the rule. But in terms of the massive amount of corruption and lies and how politicians have figured out how to wiggle their way out of getting locked up, and the same crimes that they're committing, the people are the same crimes that they're committing that they're not going to jail for, the people are going to jail for, and that's going to take the wind out of their sails, and that belief will slowly corrode and it will dissipate. And what do people have left once their belief of what this country has been teaching them all this while about hope and democracy and the American exceptionalism and their unique as opposed to any other country around this world, once that dissipates and melts away, what do they have? And all the while they've been getting the worst type of health care, and the wages, their working wages are slowing, and it's literally bottoming out while the richest CEOs are making off with the big cash barrels and barrels of dough. What do they have left when they don't have immigrants to blame? They don't have black people to blame. When they're the person that they see, when the system that they see allowed a man that committed the most egregious act that any American citizen can do, where we understand the whole name, it is become a part of American culture, the language, Benedict Arnold, a traitor. And that's one thing that you can say that he did on January 6th with that insurrection and having people climb over the Capitol building over bullshit, not even for any just noble cause, but because his feelings got hurt that he lost the election, and he was willing to destroy his own country because of that fact. And when a man like that cannot go to jail, that is going to be a bullet straight to the center of people's belief system and people's hearts, and it's going to go right to the core. And when that melts away, what do the people have left? That is what's going to change America forever. And the politicians don't even know that, because they've been so steeped and they've been neck deep in their own corruption and their greed and the money that's been piling up over their heads in the generational cash that they know they're passing on to their kids and grandkids, and they cannot see past through all the stacks of money that they're making. What their actions is doing is corroding the very idea of America. And that's not something you can come back from. That's not something you can come back from. So that, at the very least, I say, I can't wait to see. He's not going to go to jail, but that in itself, and that's going to take time. It's not going to be right away, but slowly going to just peel away a little bit fast. People are already hurting already. Americans are already hurting already. But imagine when they see that the people of that they're holding on to that little bit that's left, right? And they're of sound mind. I'm not talking to cultists. I'm talking about the people who's like, oh, nah, you gotta go to jail. I don't even like that guy. And then just outside of Trump, just the politics as usual. You know what I mean? That people are just dead tired of this whole thing that they're seeing. And they just like, yo, they keep on. That right there, that kernel. Man, I'm not saying it's going to be the end of America. It's going to change America. And people are going to say, nope, we're done. We want something different. And then when the old guard forces people that now believe that they want something different, that's where the spark is. That's where the spark is. And people don't even realize it. Anyway, moving on. Let's see the time here. It's coming up. I got probably 10, 15 more minutes with you guys, and I got to get out of here. So there was this thing that America in Africa. There was this video that was shown by this gentleman. I can't remember his name. His face is making its rounds on Twitter, and it was basically a response to Dr. Umar Johnson. And Dr. Umar Johnson, and the way that he explains things, was talking about, of course, VP Kamala Harris. She went to Ghana to talk about, to schmooze, because China and Russia are there and doing all these great things in African countries on the continent. And of course, America's got to go over there and say, hey, they can't be the only ones. We got to make sure we're over there too. So Kamala Harris is over there. VP Kamala Harris was over there and speaking the game, spitting the game, and offering like boatloads of money to the Ghanaian government. However, there's a caveat. VP Kamala Harris was like, we respect the LGBT community, and they should be able to their rights should be recognized in this country, and yada yada yada. Basically, what she was saying, she was wagging the finger at the Ghanaian government that, hey, we gonna give you pretty much what he said. You didn't say it like that, but you get the gist of it. Yo, we gonna give you this dough, but if you gonna get this dough, you gonna have to allow all this to, And America was wagging pretty much America was wagging its tail through VP Kamala Harris. And then the Ghanaian president stepped up and he said it's a process, yada, yada, yada. So anyway, so this gentleman, let me see if I have my phone. I don't even think I have my phone around. Hold on a second, folks. Okay. Let me see if I can find it quickly on Twitter. So if you want to visit this guy, you can. Let's go to my profile, replies. Let me see. Scroll away. Oh, by the way, Moana. They're about to do a live action of Moana, man. I'm looking forward to that. I told my kid, and she's like, oh my God. Yeah, so okay, so here it is. His Twitter handle is 2 RAW 2 the word 2 TOO real. So it's a number 2 raw, the word 2 TOO real. And he basically was responding to Dr. Umar Johnson and, saying, giving receipts, Kamala Harris, VP Kamala Harris doing this and doing that, what he talking about, blah, blah. And I do think he represents the LGBT community. So yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the words of what Dr. Umar was saying. because it can it could be misconstrued easily. Number two, it's insulting to a community of people, and he may not recognize it even in his own comfortable stance of being a heterosexual male. So in his ways of trying to explain how VP Harris was representing America and being hypocritical and trying to say how another country should function, he called out, the LGBT community's name that can be considered rough and denigrating, and that's what this man Too Raw Too Real was saying. But he was doing it in a way where he was trying to elevate VP Kamala Harris, saying, "Oh, she's doing that, she's doing this and do that." Yeah. But this is the thing: America can't be the one to tell another country what to do or try to take some moral high ground to a country, a country with an emerging economy, on saying, okay, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. America is not in any way in the place to tell another country how they should go about doing things that are morally right, and correcting something that's morally. It can't. America has too much of history in America in the land that we recognize as the name of America, that they have done super dirty things to African Americans here in this country. And I'm saying super dirty. I'm leaving it, using that word loosely. Super dirty. There's a better phrase that I can use when it comes to the treatment of African Americans in this country. I'm talking about from all the way from the transatlantic slave trade to Jim Crow to the black codes to redlining to police brutality to house appraisals, and we can't get the correct house appraisal. It's undervalued by $250,000. The wage gap, the racial wage gap, the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and in Jackson, Mississippi, and what's happening with people that are still getting killed by race soldiers that are from not just the cops, as I said, with police brutality, but regular citizens, where our lives is literally threatened every day. I mean, you can go on and on and on and on about things that African Americans are going through, and not just African Americans, but POCs. Let's even talk about the Native American community that I recently mentioned on my Twitter space. And then I said, you know what? Nobody ever asked Native Americans what they want to be called. I know there's tribal nations, Iroquois, Blackfoot, and all these other tribes, but have they ever said, let's stand together and we're going to call ourselves? Nobody ever asked Native Americans that anyway, because you can't be native to what? They can't say America. They can't say they native because this country wasn't called that when the indigenous people were here before, quote unquote, Columbus came. Anyway, so America is in no position to place some sort of high moral ground to go to other countries and tell them how they should live because it's not right how they're treating. No. Now America can go over and they can poly and they can talk and say, you know what, we want to do this for the Ghanaian government and its people. We don't necessarily agree with what's happening. Oh, my thing is messing up. We don't necessarily agree with what's happening. I'm fixing my mic with the treatment of such and such, but we understand you are a nation that you're going on your own journey and you're figuring it out. And America should then shut up. They can say the little piece, but not in a way where you're trying to be condescending and wag your finger at them saying, well, you better do this. Because in the African folks actually did say, high officials and people that were asked, and then I shared with Too Raw Too Real, that America actually deals with countries and does business with countries where homosexuality gets a death sentence. Gets a death sentence. You don't see America wagging his finger at these other countries. These other countries that I've even looked it up, all right, where it can be considered a death sentence if you're recognized as gay, if you recognize as homosexual. So here it is. You got Yemen, you have Iran, you have Brunei. You have Qatar, all of these areas, Saudi Arabia, where you could literally be stoned. You could literally be stoned. You could be hung if you find out or practicing anything of the homosexual nature. And here it is. Here it is that America wants to come to Ghana and tell them what they should do. America has no place telling what another. Can you imagine if another country, whatever it is, could come to America and say, America, you can't do that, and that's wrong. Can you imagine in China? America would laugh. The politicians would laugh these countries right out the border. You can have the ambassador or whatever that country. Hey, listen, show them out. They're not going to tell us. Of course, the American exceptionalism, the only shining palace on the hill, on the mountaintop. So how now are you going to have America come in and try to tell them? Now, is it wrong? Yes, I get what's happening. I get in Uganda. I get what's happening in Uganda. I understand that people should be recognized. Homosexuality has been around since the beginning of human time, since biblical periods. And that's a discussion, and it's a conflict, and it's an argument that it continues to this day. And it was people that recognize and understand the human rights of the LGBT community, and there are people that don't. It's something that's an ongoing thing. But a country has to figure itself out on its own time. It has to. America went through its period. It's still going through its period, but I'm speaking specifically about the LGBT community. And there a lot of progress has been made that we have come to accept and respect in a lot of different ways. There's been pushed back from the Republican Party on how they're treating the LGBT community. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying I'm not recognizing that. That's a very real thing, especially what the Republican Party is doing today. But more or less, we're respecting the human rights of the LGBT community. It's in the movies, it's in how we treat them, and in certain laws you can't do. They're able to marry and a lot. We get that. But that's the progress that America made. Now you can't, and America's famous for that, and that comes with the arrogance of America, saying that the rest of the world must do as they do because they must do that, because that's what we do. Don't listen to, what's that saying? It's not, don't do what I do what I say. Or don't do what I say, do I, whatever. I'm having a Bush moment, my bad. You understand what I'm saying? So America's in no place. And eventually now just find out that South Africa is actually protesting Uganda for how they're treating their homosexual community. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's the process. And it's going to happen on their own time when countries within a specific country in Africa, or it's other countries supporting the gay community in that specific country, in Uganda, to be more specific. It's going to happen in their own time. It's the same thing as women, how the women are treated in the Middle East. I'm hearing that certain countries in the Middle East, women can't drive, women can't vote, women can't do certain things. But America is not coming to Iraq, coming to Egypt and saying, well, and wagging a finger. Nah, they doing business. They're not even saying one word of how women's being treated. They're there for business. Understand what I'm saying? It's going to happen on its own time. It may take 20 years, it may take 50 years, but it must happen at their pace. That's America getting involved in other people's business, and you got your own dirt that's happening within these borders that you must tend to, but they want to go around the world telling people what they should do. The arrogance, the ego. You can't even have maglev trains that China's doing right now. It's testing, and they're about to put on the road, and we're still talking about metal on metal on our Amtrak system. And you want to talk about what other countries should be doing? Figure out your own shit that's going on in your house. You got homeless issues. We got the racial issue. We got a whole host of, we got the student loan debt problem. We got so many things that we got to figure out right here in this country. And you want to go to another country and tell them, well, you can't do that. Tisk, tisk, get the fuck out of here. And Africa though ain't got to listen for a goddamn thing. And they shouldn't, and they don't have to. To be straight up, Africa don't have to take a goddamn thing. And then just the history, I even forgot to say the history of America in Africa. The support of apartheid. All that supposed nonprofit work of funneling money to help the AIDS crisis and the issues in Africa. And Africa, in a lot of ways, is still in the same position without the help of America. As opposed to World Trade Organization and the World Bank saying, hey, look, we're going to give you X amount of dollars so you can build back your country. But it's not about building up the country. It's about putting them in debt so you can squeeze the very last drop of resources out of them. That's America, man. I'm saying because I see it. I have to say because I see it. And Africa has even become so sophisticated in the U.S. The AIDS nonprofit help in Africa, and saying we don't need any more nonprofit help because it's done more harm than good. It has done nothing to help the conditions of Africa. It's like the same thing that with what's that damn nonprofit aid in Haiti? They raised $1 billion and only 2 or 3 houses got built. I'm trying. I can't. Haiti houses earthquake. I can't remember that damn nonprofit. And because of that, I don't donate to nonprofits like that anymore. I don't because of the $1 billion that was raised from that Red Cross, the American Red Cross. That's them. Because of that, I don't donate to nonprofits like that anymore. Whole $1 billion they raised and not a damn thing been done to help the situation. And even now Haiti's going through even more problems that America's not even stepping foot in Haiti about. Come to find out they got a lot of untapped minerals in Haiti. And that's possibly why Haiti's being allowed to deteriorate in the way that it's happening, to fall apart. There's been left in shambles and people are screaming for help. And here America is like, huh? What? Huh? Is somebody saying something? They're doing that in Haiti right now. And they're going to go over to Ghana and say, well, if we get the fuck it. They don't matter. Africa doesn't have to deal with you. China's building roads and infrastructure. Now, I'm not saying China is they're angels. China has their own agenda. But I'm hoping that the brothers and sisters on the continent are crafty enough and went through colonialism or the hardships of what has happened in Africa, that they have learned, and they're not going to replace one colonialist for another, whether it's Russia and China. So I don't know the specific deals that some of these African countries are doing, but I'm hoping that that's the case. And it sounds like that's the case because they know what's going on. If they can recognize the issues of what America is doing in Africa and other countries, they can recognize the bullshit that other countries today and what they're doing on the grounds of the continent, whether it's China or Russia. And hopefully there's a way Africans are going to navigate that where they cannot put themselves in compromising positions where that is the case. Okay, so one last thing before I get out of here, this Restrict Act. I talked about it before and I got it wrong. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with the Restrict Act. A lot of people have been talking about it on Twitter. And the Restrict Act, of course, is called the Restricting the Emergence of Security Threats That Risk Information and Communications Technology Act of 2023. And shortened, of course, is an acronym for Restrict. And basically, they were trying to say TikTok. And there's a reason for of Congress trying to push this bill through because TikTok is stealing information. It's not about that, of course. If you've been listening to any of the famous TikTok folks on TikTok, they're saying it has nothing to do with TikTok and everything about controlling what's been going on because of Facebook's own jealousy. Because Facebook knows that TikTok is outpacing them, and they had, I guess, this content reward system. It was like, scrap that. We're not doing no creator content reward system. We just going to try to push TikTok out the box. And they were lobbying the American government millions and millions of dollars for some time, and finally got to this point where they created the Restrict Act, and they were talking about, oh, well, TikTok is stealing information and they're doing wrong things with the kids. I remember when that came out and they were talking about, the problems with social media, mostly TikTok. And it has nothing to do about TikTok. It's mostly to do about the information that's being shared amongst the people, because TikTok is allowing people to talk, create communities, create the spaces where they don't have to listen to the traditional sources. As I've always said on 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11, the major news media, now they're talking to each other and breaking things down with the thoroughness. But this bill is crazy, and I'm not going to go through this bill because if you are a TikTok person, you know exactly what they're trying to do here. But there was one thing that was curious to me that I read, that I printed it out and I read this thing, and it's about 60 pages. But the funny thing, everybody knows what the penalties are. Everybody knows what they're going to be willing to do. But one thing that was interesting to me, and I made little markers here, little bookmarks. Let me see if I can find it. Requiring inspect. No, that's not it. It was interesting to me, one super light that nobody was talking about, that it's also in this bill. So here it is. It's the rules of Senate and House of Representatives. Subsection B is enacted by Congress. This has not been talked about because they're talking about what the government wants to do by invading your VPN and your internet and your mobile phone and your computer and getting all this data and what they're going to do and charge you $20 million, something like that, $1 million in 20 years, up to a maximum. One thing that it was interesting in this bill that no TikTok person has ever said. They say this: when it comes to rules of Senate and House of Representatives, subsection B is enacted by Congress. They're saying, I'll say number one, but it's to get to number two. As an exercise of the rulemaking power of the Senate and the House of Representatives, respectively, and as such are deemed a part of the rules of each house, respectively, but applicable only with respect to the procedure to be followed in that house in the case of legislation described in those sections, and supersede other rules only to the extent that they are inconsistent with such rules. And number two, this is what gets you. With full recognition of the constitutional right of either house to change the rules so far as relating to the procedure of that house at any time, and in the same manner and to the same extent as in the case of any other rule of that house. Now, I'm like, wait a second. I'm not a lawyer, all right? I'm not a paralegal. I didn't draft this thing, but I'm going to say it again. With full recognition, the rules that they state on how they're going to actually operate with this, I believe it's the Secretary of Commerce and the President or other relevant agencies to come to a conclusion if you are an enemy of the state and how they're going to handle you. There's a whole set of rules of what they have to go through in order to see if this is the case. But that line, it says number two, I'll say it again, with full recognition of the constitutional right of either house to change the rules so far as relating to the procedure of that house at any time in the same manner and to the same extent as in the case of any other rule of that house. What it sounds like to me, they gave you a breakdown of how they're going to actually operate to determine if you are an enemy of the state or not, or what conclusion they come to. All those rules, those steps that they're going to take, that one line says, hey, we could throw those rules right on out. And whatever we just said, if we so feel that we don't want to follow these rules, we ain't got to follow a damn thing. And we going to come up with our own way of how we going to deal with you. Damn democracy. That's what it sounded like to me. Anybody that's a paralegal, someone illegal, please tell me that I'm reading that wrong. Because that's what it sounded like to me. And I highlighted that and I reread it and I'm like, that's what it sounds like. It's saying to all damn the rules. That's what they saying. That's a serious problem for to restrict that. Because they understand that people are finally talking to each other instead of listening to those major news channels. And they're actually coming with their own conclusions. And people are actually like, wait a second, and going across the aisle, as they say, regardless if they're Republican or Democrat, and they're actually coming to an understanding like, whoa, wait a second, we've been lied to. Whether if it's past history of inventors that wanted to cure a specific disease that they got nullified, they got sued by the government, or the specific business and they got ran out, or they mysteriously died, or whatever the case may be, to what's happening in our politics. People are sharing these ideas and talking with each other, and whatever. Prime example, what happened in East Palestine and with the derailment of that train, and the environment was poisoned and people were talking to each other. It wasn't wrapped up in a nice, neat bow by Channel 7 and saying, okay, that's it. And when it leaves a news cycle, all of a sudden people forget, no, TikTok people are talking to each other, and the government doesn't want that. And how I see it is, as I always said, this is the analog boys and how they're maneuvering in the digital world. They do not know what they're doing. We have people that are 80 years old, 75 years old, been in Congress for 50, 60 years. They're living in analog times. They're still trying to ride the Model T Ford when we have an electric vehicle, EV, right here. And we're increasingly entering into a globalized world. Our economies are interlinked, our trades are interlinked, our music and culture are crossing borders. We cannot treat nations anymore as these stiff borders where people cannot cross. You're an alien, you're an immigrant. People travel as we've always done since the beginning of human time. And not that in ways that we cannot physically travel. We are traveling with our mind through the devices that we have in our hands. And we are seeing each other and we relating to each other, and it's saying, wow, you are going through the same things that we're going through. And you are having the same problems that we're having, and I need for you to help me figure this out. And the folks, the old boys, the old analog boys, are afraid of that they're losing the grip, and they are. Because the world is changing. As I always said in the commercials that I created for Lyfeblood.com, it is changing. It's not only changing for people in terms of business, in terms of how much time we give to our families and what COVID did, and doing remote work, and the way we travel in a shorter period of time, and how we communicate, that we are changing how human beings interact. And they think that it's only going to change for their benefit because they can make money faster, make us better commodities. And we think that we're getting lost in our devices and how things are getting streamlined. No. As these things and technology is being introduced to us, it's also changing how we are seeing each other, how we're seeing the world, that it's a very small place. And you may be in France and I may be in New York. You may be in California or Texas, or you're in South Africa or in China and Russia, whatever. We are talking to each other and we're seeing commonalities, and we want certain things that should be a basic human right. And that's not something that our government wants, it because they want you to be obedient drones and make them money. So we need to seek new minds and new ideas from a fresher generation that's going to actually match what's happening in our society today, and actually maneuver in ways where it's going to better this country, but not just this country, but the world. It is something that's unavoidable. It's something that's inevitable, and it's something that we have to deal with today. We are living in a global world, folks. We're living in a global society. And yes, I know there are threats. I know what's going on. And China ain't free from that. Russia ain't free from that, because if it wasn't America, it would be another nation. But even they're going through their own growing pains themselves. Even a lot of Russians that don't agree with what's happening in Ukraine and don't agree with what Putin's doing. And the people want something different from the folks that that have been chosen to be elected in their respective countries, and the people see that and they want something different. So we need to move with the right guidance in America. We need to move with wisdom. We need to move with care in order to navigate this new world that the old boys, the old analog boys, can't do anymore. So what they're trying to impress or try to impose with the Restrict Act will not be able to function. Understand what I'm saying? So we are seeing America grow, and to me, I see growing pains, and I say not. It's the end of America in certain ways, but it's the beginning of a new one that involves not just America, but the world included in China. The things are not going to happen to how we're back. Even if China had this idea of ultimate world dominance, it's not going to happen as it did before, as what America done. Now that game has changed. As I said before, with the technologies that's been introduced to us, it will not happen in the same ways that China thinks that may happen 150 years ago, or even Russia or any other emerging powers that's happening right now in the 2023, in the 21st century. So there's a lot of things that we got to come to terms with, but it's only going to happen when the people decide to do it. And whether it's TikTok or another social media platform, whatever you decide where you're going to interact with, it's going to start with you, everybody that's out there from whatever country or county or city or town, wherever you're from, is going to start from you. And some people are not going to make it. Some people are so entrenched and so the old ways are so ingrained. And in terms of white supremacy, those towns and counties, they're just going to blow away in the wind. Like what happened with my man in the Marvel joint, where Tony snapped his fingers and my man blew away in the dust, ever so gently. Can't remember his name. You know who I'm talking about. So that's what's happening to old America. It's blowing away in the dust, but something new is coming up. And it's going to have to allow people to be stuck in your ways. Not everybody's going to be saved, man. So that's what I got to share with you guys. I appreciate you guys for listening to me. I'm going to get out of here. 20 minutes over, but it's all good. Thank you, guys. I'll see you next week. I'm out. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. For the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go-round. From right here to your town, we out.